Nations leaders voice frustration, what some are saying about an audit of the finances at the FSIN. Appealing a judge's decision why the Crown wants to retry a woman charged in the death of a Saskatoon girl. And seeking public input, what residents had to say about plans to build a new shelter in their neighborhood.
This is CTV News with Chantel Saunders.
Good evening. The leader of a Saskatchewan First Nation is calling for accountability from an organization representing more than 70 First Nations across the province. It comes as questions about its spending linger. Keenan Sorokon reports.
Too long ago. No.
Muskeg Lake Cree Nation Chief Kelly Wolf wants answers as a forensic audit is asking the FSIN to explain more than $34 million in expenses.
It's definitely very frustrating, but yet not surprising.
A leaked photo of a forensic audit presentation given to FSIN leadership last week shows questionable, ineligible, and unsupported transactions dating back to April 1st of 2019. $3.7 million is noted as ineligible, more than $30 million as questionable, and more than $155,000 as unsupported.
We want to see accountability, we want to see transparency, and yet it falls on deaf ears. And we ask ourselves, has there ever been a financial scandal like this ever in Canada's history or Indigenous governance history?
More than $23 million of COVID-19 funding is in question, and Wolf hopes there's a good explanation for money that First Nations needed sorely at the time. Another $8 million in administrative fees is under scrutiny, as is fleet vehicle and corporate travel spending. The audit, ordered by Indigenous Services Canada, is being finalized after first allowing the FSIN to supply added documentation in a June meeting. A summary of the results will be posted online by the end of the month, and if it's similar to what's already been revealed, then Wolf expects to see FSIN Chief Bobby Cameron's resignation.
We need to make an example out of these people who have done our people wrong.
The FSIN did not respond to CTV's request for a comment and refused to allow any questions about the audit at a news conference for a separate matter on Monday. Keenan Sorokon, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Now to an update on a high-profile THC-impaired driving case where a Saskatoon girl was killed. The Crown has now filed a written argument outlining why it believes the judge's decision to stay court proceedings should be overturned. CTV's Stacey Hine on why it wants the case to resume.
This was the scene on September 9th, 2021. That day, 9-year-old Bailey Maurice was walking her scooter along a Saskatoon crosswalk when she was hit and killed by Taylor Kennedy's truck. At the crash scene, Kennedy told officers she vaped marijuana and microdosed magic mushrooms the day before. She was later charged with impaired driving exceeding the prescribed blood drug concentration of THC, causing death. Last December, Judge Jane Wooten stayed the charge, ruling Kennedy was not tried within a reasonable time. Matters at Canadian provincial courts must reach a conclusion by 18 months. Wooten ruled Kennedy's matter took about 6 months too long. The Crown is appealing the decision, submitting written arguments to the Saskatchewan Court of Appeal last month. In its submission, the Crown argued that part of the delay should be attributed to disruptions caused by the pandemic. It noted that during the delay hearing, Wooten acknowledged the pandemic caused court backlogs, but said she couldn't attribute a specific length of delay to COVID-19. The Crown argued it provided data showing pandemic-related delays at Saskatoon Provincial Court extended case timelines by 4 months in 2022. The Crown is asking the Court of Appeal to lift the stay and send the case back to the trial judge for a decision based on evidence. Defense lawyer Thomas Hines says, quote, "We remain confident the Court of Appeal will uphold Judge Wooten's decision on delay." Maurice's mother says she has some hope the decision will be overturned, but says the entire process has been exhausting. As for an appeal hearing, a date has yet to be set. Stacey Hine, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Plans for a permanent shelter in Saskatoon are starting to take shape. Last night, people were invited to City Hall to ask questions and talk about the concerns they have. Hallie Mandrick has those details.
City officials and community members, including the Mustard Seed and police, gathered at Saskatoon City Hall on Monday night to exchange plans and hear concerns from residents regarding plans for a new shelter.
So we want people to understand that there is a lot of thought going into this and that there is a lot of planning ahead of time to make sure that this can work as well as possible in our community. And we want to understand, are we missing anything? Is there anything more we can do?
The 60-bed enhanced emergency shelter will be located at 170 31st Street East in Saskatoon's central industrial area. While a 250-meter distance is required between the shelter and the nearest school, residents voiced concerns regarding the shelter being too close to neighboring schools and the Harry Bailey Aquatic Center. Additionally, some folks were seeking more information about the shelter's drug policies.
We do not permit any drug use on site, and we do confiscate any drugs that we find. So we do a safety check on them to see whether or not they meet the criteria of whether they're safe. And if they do not meet that criteria, we would usually call the police.
Meanwhile, some folks expressed that the capacity of the shelter won't be enough as the colder months grow closer.
There's 3,000 homeless people out there, never mind the pit count. 60 days, not even, there's going to be snow on the ground, and you have room for how many people? What about the rest of them?
As for what's next, the city will be passing along the information gathered to the province as it works to have the new shelter operational before the closure of Saskatoon's temporary shelter, which will happen in September of next year.
And then they're going to incorporate what they need to into a tender to release this fall. And then, of course, we have our temporary location that only has approval for 18 months. So we're all working to ensure we have a new shelter operational by that 18 months.
Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
The family of a woman who died from a gunshot wound while traveling in a vehicle on Highway 39 near Weyburn Friday night is asking for privacy. 44-year-old Tanya Myers has been identified as the victim. Loved ones describing her as an energy healer and animal lover who had a special fondness for cats. She had 9 of them. In a statement, her family is asking whoever is responsible for her death to, quote, grow a conscience and take responsibility for your actions. They say Tanya deserves justice and her family deserves answers. Meanwhile, RCMP say a second vehicle was damaged along Highway 39 near Weyburn on Friday night about the same time Myers was shot. They say the driver of the second SUV heard 2 loud pops that sounded like rocks hitting the windshield. The next day, they discovered they had a flat tire. RCMP analyzed the tire yesterday and determined it was damaged by a bullet. It was also determined that vehicle was traveling a close distance behind the vehicle Myers was shot in, passing it on the way to Weyburn. RCMP still asking anyone who was in the area or knows anything about the shooting to contact them.
In relation to somebody being scared, to come forward because obviously they think they're going to be in trouble. Yeah, I mean, that's just a common sense thing. I think anybody who was involved with that, there would be some fear in relation to that. What I would say to that person is, there's a family that's suffering, that suffered a terrible loss. And that person needs to come forward to help give them closure and to understand how and why this happened, whether that is accidental, intentional, whether they knew about it or not. At the end of the day, we need to account and find out the truth as to what happened, how this happened, why it happened.
Meanwhile, Weyburn RCMP have found a person accused of impersonating a police officer over the weekend. On Saturday night, a motorist reported driving down a grid road near Midale when a vehicle with blue and red flashing lights came up behind them. The driver slowed down, but the vehicle with the flashing lights sped up and took off. The driver of the suspect vehicle posing as police is a youth who cannot be identified. Charges have not been laid. RCMP clarifying this incident is not related to the weekend shooting on Highway 39. The Saskatoon man is facing child pornography charges following an investigation by the Saskatchewan Internet Child Exploitation Unit. A search warrant was executed at a Saskatoon home last Thursday where electronic devices were examined and seized. 24-year-old Andrew Silverquill is now charged with possession of child pornography and making it available. He appeared in court this morning on the charges. Well, Jeff, it looks like we have temperatures into the 20s pretty much until the weekend.
Into the weekend and the beginning of fall. I know that's the case for many locations. Pretty quiet conditions in terms of the active weather situation, Chantel. A big area of high pressure is still in place, so right now things are looking warmer than seasonal, and in some cases, plenty of sunshine. Details later on.
Prime Minister Mark Carney met with Premier Scott Moe today, debriefing his trip to China, where the Premier discussed those steep tariffs on canola exports. The province is the world's leading canola producer, and CTV's Alison Bamford has more on whether progress was made.
His commitment to our country, obviously he's working for the people of Saskatchewan, but commitment to our country and contribution at the tables have been essential to getting us together and moving forward.
A quick welcome before getting down to work. This afternoon's meeting between the Premier and Prime Minister, a chance to debrief after Scott Moe's trade mission to China earlier this month. Moe met with Chinese government agencies responsible for imposing the steep tariffs on Canadian canola products. Talks, he said, were much more positive than expected.
This is another step in finding our way through what is a pretty difficult time for a significant Canadian industry.
The tariffs are driving down canola prices at a time when farmers are at their busiest. Once the crops are harvested, the pressure will shift. Do producers sell or delay as long as possible?
There's just no real answers, and again, no real indication from our federal government as to what sort of support as producers we could be expecting in the future.
The duties are widely viewed as retaliation for Canada's 100% tariff imposed on Chinese electric vehicles.
Tariffs on canola came up unexpectedly. If they can come on fast, then come off fast. And the Chinese are just going to want something in return.
Before flying to Ottawa, Moe told reporters he's hopeful an agreement could be reached by the end of the year. But farmers are still fearful that this could drag on. And with bills to pay, producers may be forced to sell their commodities at a price much lower than the cost of production. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
A new tool to protect Saskatchewan's youngest residents from a serious respiratory virus will soon be available. At the start of October, all newborns in the province will be offered an RSV vaccine before leaving the hospital. Carla Shinkrick has the story.
Her beautiful little face.
Tara Johnson's daughter got respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, when she was a small child.
She had really bad lungs when she was a baby. She had lots of pneumonias. I mean, like 11 pneumonias a year. Like, she was hospitalized chronically.
Her daughter is now 15 and still battles effects of that childhood illness. With a new milestone RSV immunization starting in Saskatchewan in a few weeks, she wants parents to know how important it is.
I wish that we had this available to us. It would have prevented us from going to the hospital once a month for 5 months, for 3 years, to get shots to protect her from RSV.
For the first time beginning October 1st, every baby born in Saskatchewan will be eligible for an immunization designed to protect them from serious lung infections caused by RSV free of charge. The program will run into March, lasting during the months when RSV activity is at its peak.
So the fact that we're getting geared up to try to prevent this and have an impact is very exciting and very timely.
RSV is one of the most common reasons babies are hospitalized during the winter months, often causing bronchiolitis or pneumonia, filling pediatric wards with sick kids mostly under 2 years old.
Be hospitalized for several days. Some of them have to go to the intensive care unit, have to be put on a ventilator, so it's had a huge impact.
The antibody shot will be given at 17 birthing sites by nurses across the province with parents' consent. With so many remote areas here, Clausen sees this helping to lower the number of patients being transported to hospitals, saving the cost for that travel also.
It's much more complex and difficult to get them to a place where they get the care that they need. In our province, this can have a really important impact.
Other provinces like Ontario and Quebec have already implemented the program, with places like Australia and parts of Europe a few years ahead. Carla Shinkrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
The Saskatchewan NDP is calling for rent control, saying the province is seeing the highest rent increase in the country for 11 straight months. A report from rentals.ca says Saskatchewan rents increased 4% compared to the rest of the country, which saw a 2.3% decline. The NDP says seniors and post-secondary students have been affected by rising rent.
What I want to make sure people understand is rent control does not mean that landlords can never increase rent, because I think that's the first misconception about rent control. What it does mean is that rent can be stabilized so that tenants aren't suddenly being told their rent's going up 12% this year or 30% this year, and they're not able to afford that.
The province says one of the most effective ways to deal with rising rent is to increase the supply of rental housing. It adds rent control has caused housing shortages whenever it's been implemented, de-incentivizing the building of new rental accommodations. A new hotel development is moving ahead in Prince Albert's growing Yard District. Jasmine Pelche now on the impact it's expected to make in the city.
Prince Albert City Council decided to move ahead with the development permit for a hotel in the Yard District south of the new leisure center.
You're able to bring on larger events. You're able to pull people in from more areas. Of course, that creates an economic spin-off for other businesses in town. As well, you know, understandably, it will increase taxation revenue for the city.
The build will be located at 4284 7th Avenue East on the same site as the new discount liquor store, which is currently under construction by the same permit applicant. While the site was initially supposed to include 119 parking spaces, the city approved the permit with 100 spaces, deciding that it was time for the project to move forward.
You look at, well, what can we accommodate? What likely is going to happen with the flow of traffic and with the flow of parking? So it's a reasonably well-calculated decision that this is something we can accommodate.
The zoning bylaw allows parking space reductions if justified by a traffic and parking analysis. Bylaw updates in recent years increased the maximum building height for hotels in the zoning district up to 6 stories, which will be the height of the new build. The permit applicant also applied for the new commercial and multi-unit residential construction incentive program, which was approved by council earlier this year, and offers a declining tax abatement over 4 years with full taxation by the 5th year.
They're quite anxious to get the project going as early as this fall. Completion timeline, we'll get more information on that as the project unfolds.
The city shared that comparable hotels in the area contribute approximately $270,000 annually in municipal taxes. Jasmine Pelche, CTV News, Prince Albert.
Still to come, why Chrystia Freeland is leaving her post again. Also remembering the life of a Hollywood legend. You're watching CTV News live from downtown Saskatoon. Thanks for staying with us. Longtime cabinet minister and one-time deputy prime minister to former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland is quitting cabinet again. But this time, she's leaving Mark Carney's inner circle. Freeland is now set to also serve as Canada's new special representative to help with the reconstruction of Ukraine. CTV's Mike Lukacher reports.
Chrystia Freeland isn't stepping down as an MP yet, saying in a statement she won't run in the next election. A source familiar with the appointment says Freeland will work directly with the Prime Minister on the rebuilding of Ukraine. Chrystia Freeland left her final cabinet meeting accompanied by Prime Minister Mark Carney, signaling an amicable departure. Details of her new job only came in a statement from Carney saying, "I have asked Chrystia to serve as Canada's new special representative for the reconstruction of Ukraine." A source speaking on background says Freeland will work with Ukrainian leaders to rebuild its economy, an effort she championed under the Trudeau government as well.
The work that Chrystia will lead on Ukraine will be deeply impactful, not just for the war, but for Canada's national security.
Freeland has been a member of Parliament for 12 years, serving under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, handling key portfolios like international trade and foreign affairs. She also led the negotiation for the Canada-US-Mexico trade agreement.
She's had literally
probably every tough assignment there is in government, and she's done it, with extraordinary flair, and she's done a great job.
In 2020, Freeland became Canada's first ever female finance minister. 4 years later, she resigned from Trudeau's cabinet with a blistering letter criticizing the Prime Minister and costly political gimmicks, a move that led to Trudeau's own resignation less than a month later. Freeland ran for the Liberal leadership, but came in a distant second to Mark Carney. In a statement, she thanked her constituents and praised the current Prime Minister, saying Mark Carney is a unifier in a time of crisis, and I have absolute confidence in his ability to lead us through it. Ontario's Premier also praised her time in politics.
She's always a friend. I talk to her almost daily, bi-daily, and she's a good person, and she'll do a great job over in Ukraine, and I support her all the way.
Late this afternoon, we learned who will fill the void in Cabinet. The minister in charge of Canada-U.S. trade, Dominic LeBlanc, will now take over on internal trade. And the transport file will be handled by Government House Leader Steve McKinnon. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
Donald Trump is in the UK for an unprecedented second state visit. The two-day trip will mix trade deals, royal pageantry, but also criticism. The U.S. president was met with a huge photo of him and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein on the lawn outside of Windsor Castle. It's where Trump is spending the night. CTV's Joy Malbon is in London, where his visit comes with major security.
It's a striking show of force. In Windsor, police on the streets on horseback patrolling the River Thames. And there will be a no-fly zone. Police are concerned someone might try to fly a drone over the castle walls. After the targeted assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, as well as the attempts on Trump's life, no one is taking any chances. All of the events will be kept inside for security reasons and hidden from the public. Those hoping for a glimpse of the U.S. president in Windsor will be disappointed. Donald Trump and the First Lady arriving here by helicopter. That's how tight security is.
This is the second state visit. You know, it's spectacular. It's a shame, really, they're not having a carriage ride through Windsor.
The Stars and Stripes along with the Union Jack may be on display, but not everyone is rolling out the welcome mat.
Oh, this man is endangering human life on this planet. He's got to be told that, and I can't go to America, so he's kindly come here.
Trump will avoid the demonstrations and protests against his visit from the Stop Trump Coalition and others, angry over what they call the president's divisive politics. Trump and the First Lady will be treated to a grand display of royal pageantry, hoping this so-called soft power of the royals will appeal to the unpredictable president. In the face of Trump's annexation threats, it was King Charles who went to Canada to show solidarity.
As the anthem reminds us, the true north is indeed strong and free.
That intervention by the king seems to have worked, though Canadians aren't over it yet.
I'm from Canada, so at the moment we feel a little bit misunderstood by him, so I'm not sure that we're excited about Donald Trump.
This visit will be a royal charm offensive with all the pomp and ceremony, from a military fly past, a gun salute, and a lavish state banquet, all designed to dazzle the U.S. president in hopes of signing some crucial business deals. Joy Malbon, CTV News, Windsor.
The suspect in the fatal shooting of American political commentator Charlie Kirk has been charged with aggravated murder. Tyler Robinson also charged with felony discharge on a firearm and obstructing justice. Prosecutors say evidence includes a text message confession. He is accused of murdering Kirk during an event at a Utah university last week. He's being described as handsome and a dreamboat. Robert Redford, the movie star who went on to reinvent himself as director, producer, and the brains behind the prestigious Sundance Film Festival, has died. As Andrea Case reports, accolades are pouring in for the 89-year-old.
There
are movie stars, and then there was Charles Robert Redford Jr. Born in Santa Monica, California in 1936, his acting career began on television in 1959. He moved on to Broadway, and then came the movies. His good looks cemented his leading man status. But Redford was more than just a pretty face and turned down acting roles which he thought would stereotype him.
Well, that ought to do it. Use enough dynamite there, Butch?
Robert Redford was someone who I think wasn't always given credit for his enormous talent as an actor simply because he was too good looking. He had the Brad Pitt syndrome that people, I think, for a while just refused to take him as seriously as he deserved to be taken as an actor. But then you look at those films and you place them back to back to back. You see how different they all are, and you see that the common link is Robert Redford.
Marvin, what do we do now?
He made his directorial debut with the family drama Ordinary People in 1980. It garnered him his first Academy Award. Redford stood for many issues, his star power attracting attention to causes which included political activism, the environment, Native American and Indigenous peoples' rights, and LGBTQ rights. In 1981, he created the Sundance Institute, named after his Sundance character, and in 1985, the Sundance Film Festival was born, taking place where he lived in Utah in the middle of winter.
Our job and our role is to create a space and a platform to bring new voices and new ways of seeing the world using independent film.
Redford was married twice and had 4 children and 7 grandchildren. He died in his sleep this morning at home in Utah, surrounded by those he loved. Robert Redford was 89.
I am Professor Poke My Einstein with the Saskatoon Soaps, here to discuss a mysterious phenomenon. You see, as teachers, professors, support staff, and students, we know what happens during the school year. There are classes, assignments, papers, schedules, day books, all is documented. But what happens during the summer months remains a mystery. But once we're back in class in the fall, we're left with a suntan, a bare belly, and a lot of uncomfortable questions. But fear not, this Friday night at 8 p.m. the Saskatoon Soaps present I Think I Know What We Did Last Summer. Get your tickets online at broadwaytheatre.ca or at the door. So, Jeff, what's the weather going to be like?
Well, Professor, I'm glad you asked. It looks like it's going to be a pretty pleasant day. And speaking of pleasant, special discounted prices to kick off the season for the 41st season for the Saskatoon Soaps. A daytime high of 21 degrees, mainly cloudy skies, and you can go to broadwaytheatre.ca. Let's take a look at what we've got going on with our current temperatures. It's 18 degrees right now in Saskatoon, 17 in Prince Albert, 19 in the Battlefords. And Saskatoon's almanac, well, it was a warm one, 26 degrees, 8 degrees above seasonal, but not the record breaker. That record still stands at 34 degrees set in 1979. The sun's going to go down at 7:19.
Coming up, bringing a little of the past into the present. How one Saskatchewan farm is making an old piece of equipment new again.
Watch The Amazing Race Canada tonight at 9 on CTV. It's a race to the finish line, and tonight we will find out who wins. We'll sit down with them first thing tomorrow.
All right, now let's take a look and see what's going on right now. We've got ourselves a relatively pleasant evening, and it looks as though things are going to be staying on the pleasant side. If you like warmer than seasonal temperatures, you got it, because let's take a look at what's going on, first of all, with a satellite and radar shot here. They can let you know there's a very quiet pattern. We have what's called an omega pattern going on. It looks like the omega letter in the Greek alphabet, and so a big area of high pressure, low pressure on either side of it, and so we've got ourselves a nice stable situation for much of the prairie provinces. 18 degrees in Saskatoon, 17 in Prince Albert, 19 in the Battlefords. The hot spot in Saskatchewan, Val-Marie at 26, the cold spot, Kindersley at 7. Around the province we go, starting off with our larger communities. It's 20 in Lloydminster, 22 in Swift Current and Moose Jaw and Estevan, 23 in the Queen City, 21 in Yorkton. In central parts of the province, temperatures ranging from 14 degrees in Waskesiu up to 22 in both Kindersley and Rosetown. In northern Saskatchewan, relatively warm there, but into the teens. Key Lake at 13, but a few places at 17 degrees. And down south, most locations, in fact, all locations are in the low 20s, basically around 21 or 22 degrees. Now on to our Futurecast. As you can see, not a lot of active weather as we make our way into the next 24 hours, but look at down the bottom of your screen there. That is low pressure area and lots of active weather that's moving up into Saskatchewan. It could be an issue on Thursday. Mainly cloudy or cloudy skies in northern Saskatchewan tomorrow with temperatures in the high teens, low 20s. For west central Saskatchewan, temperatures basically around that 21 or 22 degree mark with a mix of sky conditions. Lots of sunshine in Maple Creek, Leader, and Swift Current. A bit more cloud cover in outlook, but temperatures around 23 in the region. For the southeast, temperatures of 18 in Yorkton, 21 in Regina and Estevan and Moose Jaw, 22 degrees, and temperatures just slightly cooler than that for east central Saskatchewan under mainly cloudy skies. On to the Battleford, 6 degrees overnight. Some fog patches expected to show up, a high of 23 on Wednesday, 21 on Thursday, Friday 22, but it's 26 and sunny on Saturday. For Prince Albert area, dropping down to 9 overnight, 20 tomorrow for a daytime high, so it's still above seasonal, and even 19 is above seasonal. That's your temperature for Thursday and Friday, 23 on Saturday, 24 on Sunday, and starting off the work week at 21. And Saskatoon, clear skies, but some fog patches showing up, an 8-degree temperature overnight, 21 for a daytime high on Wednesday with mainly cloudy skies, 20 degrees on Thursday, 21 on Friday, but jumping up to 24 on Saturday, 25 on Sunday. Monday, when fall arrives, 23 degrees and 24 on the first full day of fall. Canadian children's author Robert Munch has been approved for medical assistance in dying. A profile in the New York Times revealing that Munch applied for MAID not long after being diagnosed with dementia. The 80-year-old went public with his diagnosis in 2021. Munch has written more than 70 popular children's books over the years, including The Paper Bag Princess and Love You Forever.
And now the Emmy for lead actor in a comedy series goes to Seth Rogen, The Studio.
Seth Rogen's The Studio was the big winner at Sunday's Emmy Awards. The Studio took home a total of 13, count them, 13 Emmys, breaking the all-time record for a comedy series. Rogen himself won 4 of the trophies, tying the record won by a single person in one night. And 15-year-old adolescent star Owen Cooper became the youngest male to ever win an Emmy, winning Best Supporting Actor in a Limited or Anthology Series, and he got to hug Sydney Sweeney. Canadian icon Neil Young is about to celebrate a milestone birthday, and there will be a big party for him in Toronto. More than a dozen Canadian musicians plan to mark his 80th birthday with a fundraiser at Massey Hall on November 12th. Serena Ryder, Dallas Green, Jim Cuddy, and Donovan Woods are among the artists in the lineup. Organizers say the set list will span Young's entire catalog of music, which dates back to 1969. Proceeds from the concert will go to the music education charity Music Counts. Neil Young himself has, of course, been invited to the party, but it's not yet clear if he will attend.
All right, Jeff, time for Pick of the Day. What do you have?
We have 4 pictures today. We're going to start off with this one. Yeah, this comes to us from Connie, and it was taken at Dinsmore on September 7th. And, you know, if it's a Rorschach test, is that Don King, Einstein, Jiffy Pop? I don't know. You be the judge. You come up with your own. A great picture there, Connie. Next one from Haley Newman, and she sent us a bunch of images from Waka, and this is the one we chose. It's a great shot of the Northern Lights, so thank you, Haley. And then Glenn Osmond took this picture last week. A real beauty this morning, in and out of the fog, taken at 7 a.m. at the Ross Turn Golf Club. Great shot there, Glenn. And This is more on a personal note. It was a celebration of life on, I took this picture, a celebration of life on Sunday for beloved Saskatoon musician Kenny Marco, appropriately held at the basement. And this is just one of the groups of Saskatoon artists paying tribute to Kenny, who passed away in the spring. And if you'd like to share an image with us, you can do so by sending it to cfqcnews@ctv.ca.
Still to come on CTV News, a vantage point of view, how a Saskatchewan farmer is making the past part of the future.
Your morning just got a little brighter. Start your day with CTV Your Morning, and you could win $20,000. For your chance to win, watch CTV Your Morning Saskatchewan, weekday mornings 6 to 9.
A piece of farm equipment on a Saskatchewan farm is bringing back some memories for one family. As Wayne Mantika tells us, they restored the vintage piece, and although it doesn't quite keep up with the new machinery of today, it's keeping smiles on their faces.
Farmers invest millions of dollars in harvest equipment. However, the combine attracting the most attention in this formation goes back to the 1960s.
My dad used to own a combine just like this. He bought it in 1962. I remember him telling me that it was the same. The price was the same as the number, $9,200.
Larry Verhelst recently found a Massey Ferguson Super 92 at an auction. It brought back memories, so he picked it up for $1,500.
It had been stored in a steel building for the last 45 years. And it was the motor was totally seized, so.
The restoration was a family affair.
Take the wheels off and a bunch of shields, and there was a lot of work to get this engine out. Me and our hired man and my nephews and brother. A couple days to get it out, a couple days to get it back in, so.
After adding a bit of oil, it was ready to go.
In these spray cans, I put a half a jug of oil and just used it and sprayed it on all the bearings and just held it there for a while, and everything got lubricated and took all the noise out of it. It was pretty good.
Of course, the old combine is a lot smaller than the machines used today.
I could do maybe 50, 60 acres in a day. Now you can, with a new machine, you can do it in how long, Ross? 2-3 hours you can do 40, 60 acres.
It's like driving a classic convertible with the top down. The old combine isn't practical for today's farming, but the family says it has never seen their father happier. Wayne Mantika, CTV News, near Radville.
When we come back, how going back hundreds of years is providing stories for years to come. And later, bringing about change with a commemorative coin.
All right, welcome back. We'll take a look at our rural forecast for tomorrow, and temperatures once again are above seasonal. As I mentioned, fairly stationary situation, or a quiet situation with regard to active weather. 22 degrees for Meadow Lake tomorrow, 23 in Lloydminster and Kindersley, 22 in Outlook. Melfort, 19 degrees, a little cooler in Hudson Bay, but just by a point, 18 degrees in Hudson Bay. And then down south, well, we do anticipate, I mentioned that system moving up from the US of A, and we start to see it showing up probably tomorrow afternoon, but Broadview 17, 19 in Carlisle, a chance of some showers. But look at the rest of southern Saskatchewan. It's sunny or mainly sunny skies in many locations, and temperatures in the mid to low 20s, so pretty pleasant conditions. And does that include Lanigan? And I think the answer is yes, indeed. Partly cloudy skies for Lanigan, 21 degrees. A little, not really breezy because the wind shifts around a little bit, but it's only 10 kilometers an hour in terms of speed, so not such a big deal. So things are looking pretty good for Lanigan. And Lanigan is one of the many communities where internet plans of 1 gig are available from SaskTel.
Greetings, everyone. What originally began with a phone call about some possible artifacts is now a museum celebrating history and culture. Cody First Nation recently opened a new space showcasing items going back hundreds of years, once used in the early years of the nation's history. Regina DeClute has the details.
On Friday, Cody First Nation opened its new museum, located inside the Chief Gabriel Cody Education Complex.
You know, it's very humble, knowing that a lot of our artifacts that represent our culture have returned home.
Corey Cadot is the man behind the museum. He says the story began with a phone call.
A lady that used to live around here back in the early 1900s. She's 86 now, but she called me and she had some old artifacts.
In his excitement, he wrote a couple of articles to the local paper that caught the attention of future donors, such as the Western Development Museum.
It just, once one thing happened, all the other things started happening, and as you look around you today, it just all came together just like that.
The museum showcases tools and garments, but his most cherished artifact is a stone hammer.
Just like I have a special connection to it because it is made over 500 years ago, and one of my ancestors made it and used it and lived and survived with it, so it's pretty cool.
Chief Cody hopes that the museum will bring people together.
This kind of gives us an opportunity to build partnerships with not only our nation, but other nations and even the towns and the cities, you know, is that we can share our history and knowledge with one another so that we can understand one another.
Cadot already has plans for some interactive expansion.
Where that you're just going to be able to push a button and one of our language speakers and our elders are going to be telling the stories in our language about what you're looking at and what you're seeing.
This is yet another step Cody First Nation is taking to reclaim their culture and their language. The rest, as they say, is history. Frugina de Clute, CTV News, Cody First Nation.
If you have a story you would like to see in this segment, here's how to reach us. You can contact me by email, and you can also watch past episodes and segments of Indigenous Circle on our CTV Regina and CTV Saskatoon websites.
Indigenous Circle, brought to you in part by Saskatchewan Indigenous Enterprise Foundation, growing the First Nation entrepreneurial spirit.
Turning to local gas prices now, the average price in Saskatoon currently $1.35.9 a liter. That is down. The lowest price in town is at $1.28.9. That is also down. On Saskatchewan markets, Cameco dropped $8.53 today, and Nutrien finished the day at $78.03. Coming up, celebrating K9 contributions, a special tribute to an officer's best friend. Then how one Canadian artist is bringing about change.
Select Hair Services brought to you by Sage, the beauty bar.
We've got another great night of entertainment coming up right here on CTV, starting at 7 with Celebrity Weakest Link. Well, a celebration of K9 constables was marked over the weekend. After 3 years of work, the RCMP unveiled Hero by My Side, celebrating the contributions of dogs in the National Police Service. Gary Carlson wanted to show future RCMP members the value of dogs. Since police pioneer John Causey started to use German Shepherds as police dogs in the 1930s, they have saved thousands of people in vulnerable situations. So, day to celebrate the dogs.
No kidding.
All right. Well, some Saskatchewan residents celebrating coins of sorts. They had a chance to get their hands on a new commemorative coin. The Royal Canadian Mint held a coin exchange in Regina today. It was a chance to trade some of their money in for the new $2 coin, celebrating the life and the art of Indigenous artist Daphne Ojig. People could exchange their coins dollar for dollar. The coins are now in circulation, so if you want one, you just need to watch out for them. Other commemorative coins were also available, including the $1 150th anniversary of the Supreme Court of Canada. We don't carry money the same way we used to, but it's nice to watch for these.
The Supreme Court. Guilty, not guilty. I don't know. Flip a coin. There you go. Doink.
Those are really cool, though.
No, that is really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing both of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
In amongst my change. So.
You are a change carrier. You have a lot
of
bills and such.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You never know when you're going to need a coin or a dime to use as a screwdriver.
Okay, there you
Exactly.
go. All the
Handy
things.
dandy.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick look at our weather for tomorrow, and we can show you that at 9 a.m., 12 degrees, mainly cloudy skies, light and variable winds, and then we've got ourselves not much in the way of wind change at all. It winds out of the east at 10, so relatively light. And temperatures tomorrow afternoon around 21 or 22 degrees, but by 5 o'clock around 20 degrees. So there you go.
Not bad for this time of year.
Not bad for this time of year.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a little bit of time here. If you're, and I don't know where you can find some of these things because some of these movies by Robert Redford, I'm not sure if they're available on streaming services, but The Old Man and the Gun from, I think, 2018, he and Sissy Spacek, Casey Affleck, terrific little movie. All Is Lost. He's the guy on the boat by himself, lost at sea, should have been nominated for Best Actor. I think that's from 2012, something like that. And then a couple of oldies here, Brubaker and 3 Days of the Condor. So those are just 4 Robert Redford movies. And then of course, there's the, the classics. So yeah, it's 89. He had a pretty good run.
There you go. Yeah, and I feel like we're going to see more on streaming services.
I think you're right.
Thanks for watching. Have a great night.